So tonight I want to explain there are 8 reasons for us to understand or to appreciate the Dharma taught by the Buddha. There are 8 reasons why it is difficult for us to appreciate or to understand the Dharma taught by the Buddha. The first one is, this Dhamma is for one who wants little. This Dhamma is one who wants a little. That means if you are very greedy, if you want so many things, if you have no satisfaction, contentment, very difficult for you to appreciate and understand the Dharma. Because your strong craving interrupt the realization of the understanding of the Dharma. That is why he has mentioned in many places that we must have some sort of contentment, some sort of satisfaction in our life without extending our craving. For craving there is no limit. We cannot satisfy our craving by providing what we need. The more we supply, the more we increase our craving. That is why contentment is important. If there is, then easy for us to understand the Dhamma. Next item, this Dhamma is for one who wants little, not for one who wants much. This Dhamma is for the contented, not for discontented. Just now I mentioned, if there is no contentment in our life, it is very difficult for us to appreciate, to understand, to practice the Dhamma. Because it is due to lack of contentment we create jealousy. Jealousy always appears in our mind because we have no contentment. When jealousy appears, followed by anger. When anger appears, there will be enmity or argument or violence or bloodshed or disturbances. So we can avoid all those problems and also can understand the Dhamma taught by the Buddha if there is some sort of contentment. Next one, this Dhamma is for the secluded, not for one who is fond of society. That means, if we spend our whole life with all sorts of people, whole day and night, and talking and enjoying and joking and playing and whole life we devote to mix up with others. So we have no time to think or to understand the Dhamma. Because there are a lot of various other subjects, worldly, material things for us to talk, to consider, to enjoy, and we forget the Dhamma. That is why many people renounce. Since renunciation is not so easy, So what people do, they organize this retreat program, at least for 1 week or 2 weeks, completely forget all worldly, material, sensual things, but concentrate only on dharma or some sort of calmness and pleasant feeling, very good environment, so that we forget our normal human weaknesses. Because all of us have very natural or normal human weaknesses. These weaknesses influence us. When circumstances are there, environment is there, then these weaknesses flare up. After that, we create very bad atmosphere. Because we have more weaknesses than good qualities by nature. To be good is very, very difficult. To be bad is very easy. Because of that, we have bad habit, bad nature, bad way of thinking, because we have been dealing with all those things life after life, not within one lifetime. So every existence, we are going on accumulating some more. So what we have accumulated during our previous birth, still that habit is there in our mind. So within this lifetime also we add some more. Then human weaknesses. So if we have this human weakness, if it is very strong, and if we devote our time only with our companions or friends or with others, to go and drink and dance and joke and merrymaking, no dharma is there, no chance to think of the dharma. Therefore there must be a limit. So when you renounce at least for few days, now people observe 8 precepts on full moon and new moon days as religious days. Before these colonial rulers occupied many of these Asian countries, a public holiday was full moon, new moon days, not Sunday. So they have neglected full moon, new moon and introduced only Sunday. But still there are few Buddhist countries where they declare full moon day as a public holiday. In Sri Lanka, full moon is a public holiday. So allow people to attend to their religious activities. So, the society that we live and the people with whom we work not always give happiness, create lot of problems, unhappiness, unsatisfactoriness, fear, worries, disturbances. So we can avoid from all these things if we can keep them away for a certain period to calm our mind, to relax. Then we can think more about the dharma and religion and how to train our mind, how to cultivate our mind, how to understand things properly. That is why here the Buddha says, those who always associate with the public, they have no chance to learn the Dhamma. So they deal with worldly material things. This Dhamma is for the energetic, not for the lazy. So now you can understand, Buddhism is not a lazy man's religion. Just for you to sit down or think, or just to waste your time without doing something. The Buddha never encouraged anybody to waste his or her life without doing anything. Without doing means not earning or work to earn something. But there are many things we can do to serve others. Then for the well-being of others, by developing our kindness or sympathy, then we do something to release their suffering, their fear, their worries. Do something, then we become active. There are many places where Buddha has mentioned this. In one place, he says, Alaso gihi kam bhogi nasadu. The worldly people who want to enjoy their worldly life, if they are lazy, they won't get it. Therefore they must be active. And then they can enjoy their life. That is in worldly sense. The other way, they must be active without wasting their life for unnecessary things, or without sleeping too much, or without relaxing too much. Be active, either physically or mentally. Mentally, you can learn so many things. You can think and analyze, reason out many things. Then the mind becomes active. Otherwise, it is lazy. Again, in another place, the Buddha says, Utthana Sampada, Arakka Sampada. Utthana means get up. Get up means you should not sit down for a long time or lie down for a long time. Get up and do something. Utthana Sampada. Here, the Buddha has encouraged each and every person to do something, either for their own benefit or well-being, or for the well-being of others. Do something. Again he says, Arakka Sampada. You must know how to protect what you have earned. Because if you neglect, you lose. Overspend for unnecessary things, you lose. And if you do not keep your things in a proper place, thieves may come and take you. If not, the fire, the water, the flood can destroy your property. So therefore, you must know how to protect what you have earned. By knowing what you need, the Buddha has mentioned this. Otherwise, he advised people to renounce and lead a pure, holy life without thinking of property or income or any worldly material thing. That is after renunciation. But if you want to lead a worldly life, then you have to pay attention. Here, advice is given by the Buddha. So he had pointed out both sides. How to lead a worldly life peacefully, happily, by leading a prosperous and very happy. Later, when you come to know the impermanency, changes, the burdens, responsibilities of your belonging or your property, then if you are not happy, then renounce. After that renunciation, you get full freedom in your mind. You can reduce your fear, worries, burdens, so many things. If you do not develop your clinging or attachment towards your property. Mostly, up to certain age, some people lead the worldly life. According to their experience, they realize this is a real burden, no peace. Actually, there is no happiness by thinking very deeply. In the ancient philosophy, for thousands of years, the human life is divided into 4 periods. From birth up to the last breath, 4 periods. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. 4. Dharma means, earlier stage, we had to learn many things, especially discipline, behavior, how to behave, how to talk, how to work, how to associate with others. We had to learn these things, otherwise we made a lot of mistakes and we had to face the consequences or the bad effect. That is the first thing that we have to do. We have to learn and train and discipline. Then come to the second stage, Artha. Artha means income. You have to do something according to your knowledge that you gained earlier. After studying or doing some work, you knew what to do. So by using your knowledge, your experience, you can do something. Then you get some income. Your income is important for you to experience a worldly, sensual pleasure. It is natural. You should not think that it is bad. It is natural. But one day this will become a burden, nuisance. Otherwise, worldly pleasures, sensual pleasures are normal. So we cannot gain worldly or sensual pleasure if we have not learned, if we have not worked to gain something. That is how life started like this. So the third stage, Kama. Kama means enjoying sensual pleasure. You attain to certain age, get married, lead a worldly life, then by spending what you are earning or what you have earned earlier, without depending on others, you can lead a peaceful worldly life. So, Dharma, Artha, Kama. Then the last stage is Moksha. Moksha means liberation, deliverance, freedom. Because we can understand we have no freedom. Physically and mentally, internally, externally, we have enormous problem. Therefore we are not free. That is why every religion use one word, salvation. Salvation means liberation or freedom. Because they know, by leading a worldly life like this, we have no salvation. If we really want to gain this, then there is a method, system. That is moksha. That means we have studied and learned. We have worked and earned. We experience worldly, sensual pleasure. All the three periods have gone. Now come to the last stage. For us to work, to think how to gain freedom, how to attain the final goal, to stop our physical and mental sufferings, disturbances, burdens we are holding at the moment. That is why we have no freedom. Now when we take a family, a father and mother who have few children, and how many things are there for them to attend to these children. From their childhood, to attend to them, look after them, educate them, train them, after that work for their further, their future. All these are burdened to their parents. If the children go out of the way, then parents suffer, they worry, they cry, they complain. These are the worldly problems that you have to face. But you can reduce many of those worries and disturbances if you have learned earlier how to handle this life. Because you know the technique, how to handle, how to maintain. So after fulfilling all your duties towards your children, time has come for you to look after yourself. Look after yourself means you have to think there will be another life. Now this life is ending. So when we come to this stage, we have to think very seriously. We have experienced everything in this world. This world. Now we have to think. One day we have to face death. Is it natural? We must die, otherwise real nuisance. If we are going to live without dying, that is the most difficult thing in this world. We cannot tolerate. We must die, definitely. Then we renew. Start a new life, a very fresh one, work for this. But that new life depends on what we are doing here today. After starting that new life, we cannot provide all the necessary requisite and pleasure and happiness. Very difficult. We had to prepare. That is why here, the last stage, we had to think. We have done all our duties towards our children and relatives and friends or the country or the government, everything. Now we had to look after ourselves. Ourselves means our future. Future means our destiny after our death. That is future. Then the next existence never become miserable or unfortunate if we work for that. for our salvation, to get rid of all the miserable, unhappy and things that we cannot tolerate. We can get rid of from all these problems. That is the 4 stages in our life. So if we practice systematically, we can handle this life facing so many worries and fear and miseries. That is called understanding of the Dharma. This Dhamma is for the mindful, not for the confused. So if you do not know how to maintain mindfulness, you cannot learn anything from the Dhamma. You cannot understand the Dharma. Because always there are friction, clashes, confusion in the mind. Mind is jumping from this object to this and that object to another one, all day and night. There's no peace. And those 5 senses that bring objects from outside always disturb the mind. Poor mind had to suffer. These senses bring certain objects which create fear, worries, jealousy, anger, temptation, unhappiness. Many of these objects. Very seldom we get something to calm the mind, but to disturb. That is why here the Buddha says you must know how to develop your mindfulness. What is mindfulness? Mindfulness means when we do some work, we must fix our mind only toward this object. Don't allow any other thought to appear in that mind while you are focusing your mind toward this. Now you are reading this book. When you started to read, all sorts of ideas flow into your mind. Then you cannot understand what you read, the content. Now if you read mindfully, without allowing any other thought to come and interrupt or disturb the mind, then you can understand. Whatever you do mindfully, you can do accurately, without making mistake. Even you dial your telephone. If you do not do that mindfully, you dial the wrong number. Or you write a letter. If you do not do that mindfully, a spelling mistake, grammatical mistake, and there's no system. So we can do everything systematically, accurately, if you do our work mindfully. It is meditation. In Satipatthana Sutra, the way of mindfulness, where Buddha has given proper guidance how to meditate. And there he says, Gatte tite nisinne sutte jagarite sampajanakari hoti uchchara passava kamme sampajanakari hoti. Sampajanakari means mindfulness. While walking, while sitting down, while lying down, while eating, we are very mindful. Otherwise we neglect certain things. It is meditation. we train our mind at the beginning in this way, by applying our mind only toward that object that we are attending, that we are doing. After that, the mind gets used to it. Now, easily we can handle our mind. If there is no mindfulness, we cannot handle our mind. Mind is very wild. Never listen, never obey, no discipline. We go on thinking our own way, good or bad, we don't care. No discipline, no mental discipline. Here, if there is mindfulness, then you can understand, you can analyze, you can appreciate the Dhamma. Otherwise, there is no Dhamma. Now, when you pay attention to a talk, then you have to pay attention mindfully without bringing another object into the mind. Then you can learn, you can grasp very easily, because mind is attuning to catch. Then we know how to appreciate it. Very easily we can understand what is right and what is wrong. When you do things mindful. So the Dharma taught by the Buddha can be understood only those who develop that mindfulness, but not confusion, but not by bringing so many things into the mind. This Dhamma is for the composed, not for the frustrated. Composed means those who have learned calm the mind. If there is no calmness in the mind, it is very difficult for us to control that mind. If we train our mind to calm when it is irritated or agitated or disturbed, at that stage, to calm the mind can avoid so many problems. Take for instance, somebody come and scold you by using all the dirty, vulgar, wicked words. Without allowing those words to disturb your mind, you concentrate on something else to calm the mind. Then you can guard your mind without allowing those people to disturb. And not so easy. It's very difficult. For example, Sariputta, the chief disciple of the Buddha, one day a Brahmin scolded him by using all the vulgar words. Because Brahmins were against with the Buddha and his teaching. They cannot agree. Scolded by using all the vulgar words. Sariputta was sitting like an image, a statue. He was so angry, then shouted, "Did you hear what I told you just now?" Then Sariputta opened, "What did you say?" "You didn't hear that I scolded you." "Did you scold me?" "I didn't hear." Yes. He is defeated because he could not disturb his mind by scolding. So we also can train this mind if this understanding is there. Let them shout. let them scold. I never lose anything. But that person lose many things. Turn the other way around. So, there are many techniques for us to adapt, to calm the mind without allowing that mind to flare up. Our anger or violence or any other forms of disturbances. That is called practicing Buddhism, practical Buddhism. There is no difficulty for us to perform rites and rituals and ceremonies and worshipping and praying and offerings and celebrating many occasions. But if we learn to calm this mind at least for few minutes, that is the highest achievement according to the Buddhist way of life. So the Buddha, after gaining his enlightenment, the mind is completely pure. Even then, every night, he spent 2 hours to calm the mind. External object cannot irritate or disturb his mind. But the physical body create pain, suffering, disturbances, hunger, thirst, so many things. Then the senses, external object also try to disturb, to avoid, to escape or to stop all these external and physical disturbances. 2 hours every day we calm the mind, maintain pure mind without allowing any other external things to disturb the mind. So in our case also, at least 15 minutes, early morning when you get up from the bed, or if not, before we go to bed, sit down, calm the mind at least for 10-15 minutes. Then that mental attitude support us to sleep well, to avoid bad dreams and certain disturbances. Because when you calm the mind, the brain cells get the chance to relax. Then very easily we can sleep. When you go on thinking, then we stir the brain cells. That is why we experience the difficulty of sleeping. So, the more you learn how to calm your mind, the more easily you can understand the Dharma taught by the Buddha. You can appreciate. This Dhamma is for the wise, not for the deluded. Panyavantassayang Dhammo Nayang Dhammo Duppanyassa. This saying is very important. The Dharma that he realized through his enlightenment can be appreciated, can be understood only by those who know how to think. Others, if they do not know how to think, they cannot understand, they cannot appreciate. This is a very important saying of the. So, assume the Buddha gives a Dhamma talk to 1,000 people. Among those 1,000, how many people are there who can think and analyze what he taught? Very, very few. Those who can do that, then they understand what the Buddha taught. But if their minds are confused, full of thoughts, they cannot appreciate, they cannot understand the Dharma. There are many learned people in this world who have learned everything. Science, technology, and languages, philosophy, psychology, everything they have learned. Even then, they experience the difficulty to appreciate the Dharma. Why? Through their knowledge, they have created a lot of confusion in the mind. They cannot cling to one particular concept or the ideas. Contradiction, friction in their thoughts. Again, they have developed some sort of egoism in their mind, thinking that we know everything. They also cannot understand it. Because of their egoism, the vast knowledge, worldly material knowledge that person has developed, never support, never encourage for that person to understand the Dharma. Knowledge is one thing, realization is another thing. Knowledge means we maintain the memory, what we have learned. That is called memory. In that memory, there is no wisdom, because they can misuse, abuse their knowledge to do bad, wicked, cruel things. They have not developed their kindness, their sympathy, their honesty, only knowledge. So if that knowledge is functioning without certain virtues and good qualities, they can misuse. Assume another person developed the mind without learning any worldly thing. That person cannot read, cannot write, and has not studied anything. But he has learned how to develop kindness, or sympathy, or harmony, or honesty. Because they are also inborn natural qualities, but later overshadowed by greed, jealousy, anger, and evil forces, overshadow. Therefore, very difficult for us to bring up these good qualities. So the person who develops all these good qualities without any worldly knowledge, they really understand the Dharma. That worldly knowledge is nothing. So we can learn everything under the sun and the moon. You can challenge anybody, I know everything. But still, Dharma is not there in that mind. Dharma means developing these good qualities and virtues, how to handle this life, how to discipline our mind, how to do our work without disturbing others. That is Dharma. Through worldly knowledge, we cannot do that. We create more disturb. That is why here the Buddha says, if you do not know how to think, how to analyze, you cannot understand the Dharma. You create your own imagination. You maintain your own concept, your own ideas. You maintain egoism. You think your ideas are correct. Then, where is the Dharma? This Dhamma is for the precise and the one who delight in exactness. That means those who think without making mistake, without maintaining some sort of pride or egoism. The mind is free to analyze and understand by using common sense. Common sense also natural. It is our inborn qualities, intrinsic quality. There are a lot of uneducated people, but they have common sense. Their understanding is better than those who are graduated. Common sense. Therefore, if we know how to bring up our common sense means we think unbiasedly and we judge whether this is right or wrong. Then we come to know if we do this thing, bad effect. If we do this thing, good effect. That is through common sense and through experience, through understanding. Then the Dharma can be understood very easily if that common sense is there in our mind. If we are narrow-minded, very difficult for us to understand the Dharma. Always we hold on whatever we have in our mind, whatever we have deposited earlier in our mind. Never withdraw, knowing they are wrong, but they try to justify nothing wrong with them. Then there is no Dharma. First thing, we had to admit, definitely we have certain weaknesses, natural. Then we must understand that they are wrong. These things can create more disturbances. Therefore, we must withdraw. After that, get the chance to cultivate the mind. By keeping all the dirt in our mind, the knowledge what we gain also we misuse. No common sense, no wisdom. Only knowledge we use with jealousy or anger or grief or selfishness or enmity. All the evil forces control our knowledge. Then we can do more harm. Continue this one. 3 more lines. Not for the diffused or the one who delight in diffusiveness. Diffusiveness means bringing all sort of propaganda work to glorify that our thoughts, our ideas are better than the others. Our way of thinking is better than the others' way of thinking. And lot of propaganda work. They announce, they publish and glorify. If their minds are such, they also cannot understand the Dharma, no chance. for Dharma to enter into that mind. These are the 8 conditions or reasons where Dharma cannot be understood. So our mind must be free from these things, then realizations appear at once. So when you study certain incident during the Buddha's time, a person who come and listen to his teaching with free mind, without those confusion or without concept, without belief, within few words, that person attained sainthood, arahanthood. Because the mind is just like a lotus bud under the water. When the sunrise appears, the lotus opens. So when the Buddha explained the Dhamma, that mind, just like a lotus flower, is open. Understood. So we had to prepare our mind. All the rubbish we have accumulated, collected, life after life, we had to reduce and reduce. By keeping them, we cannot maintain purity or perfection or gain wisdom. Impossible. Therefore, please don't try to justify. Nothing wrong. When you make a mistake, don't say nothing wrong. You have to say, yes, I know it is wrong. I try my best not to do that. Then excellent. Gentleness is there. So the mistake done by us, we should never try to justify. Even church, we know today, Pope apologized on many occasions for the mistakes that they have done. But it has taken such a long time for them to understand that it is a mistake. Normally they justify. Galileo, who discovered this earth is not flat but round. Church say it is against. He was executed for revealing this. It has taken nearly 2000 years for them to understand that they have done a mistake. It is gentleness if we can admit the mistake done by us. Again they apologize. Foreign missionaries who have come to these Asian countries, how they try to influence others by condemning our culture, our noble tradition, our way of life. They have damaged our culture. Today, they say we apologize for the mistake done by those foreign missionaries who try to introduce their religion by condemning our noble culture. So in time to come, many more will come out. Therefore, it is gentleness. If we can admit our mistake by reducing our egoism, very strong egoism we have, we try to hide our weakness, try to say nothing wrong. We say everybody is doing, therefore nothing wrong. That is a very wonderful excuse. When you make mistake, I say it is wrong. Then you say, no, everybody is doing. Can you justify that it is right just because everybody is doing the same thing? Everybody can make mistake. That is why we have to admit. Here the Buddha's advice is, try to have open mind by reducing your egoism, then chances are there for you to understand the Dharma, for you to experience complete freedom in your life, for you to see the end of all your physical and mental disturbances that you are experiencing now. Okay, sharing of merit. Imina punya kammena upajjaya gunottara acari upakaraca mata pita piyamamam suriyo candi maharaja gunavanta narapica brahma maharaja indaca lokapalaca devata yamo nitta manusaca majjata virikapica sabbe satta sukhiyantu punyani pakatani me sukhanca dividam dentu kippam papeta vomatam imina punya kammena imina uddhi kippam sulabhe ceva sannopadana cedanam ye santanehi nadamma yava nibbanato mamam nassantu sabbadaeva yatta jato bhave bhave uju citto ratipanyo kalleko viriyavamina maralabhantu nokadam katunca viriyesu me buddhadi pavaronato dhammo nato aruttamo nato pacceka sambuddho sangho nato uttaro mamam tesottamanubhavena bharukasam labhantu ma bhavatu sabba mangalam rakkhantu sabba devata sabba buddhanubhavena sada sutti bhavantu te bhavatu sabba mangalam rakkhantu sabba devata sabba dhammanubhavena sada sutti bhavantu te bhavatu sabba mangalam rakkhantu sabba devata sabba sanghanubhavena sada sutti bhavantu te